Me and some guys from school had a band and we tried real hard. Jimmy quit. Jody got married. I should have known we'd never get far. Oh, when I look back now, that summer seemed to last forever. And if I had the choice, yeah, I'd always want to be there. Those were the best days of my life. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair. And we are not moving an inch no matter what they say, no matter how they try to shut us down. We're coming back like clockwork.
Huh. Well, remember, broken clock's right twice a day. There's
That's true.
That, so.
Yeah. And
Jay,
never
how
said
are you?
I was working. I'm good.
Good?
I'm in a generous mood today.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll take your money then if you're.
Well, I'm not that generous.
Oh, okay. Got an extra? You got an extra? Toothpick or something I could have?
The song that
you can write it off on your taxes.
The song that I led off with today was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And I thought, episode 200, I'm feeling good. I'm not going to try and be sneaky.
Well, let me tell you something. After we get through our little opening here, I'm going to feel great because, like we said last week, episode 200 is us reminiscing about the first 199. With some good recommendations, we'll make 199 recommendations as well, right? Or something like that. Something like that.
Well, and this is
episodes.
the thing. I mean, before you guys reach for the button to shut it off, because, I know sometimes these, look back shows, they kind of stink. But that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to make some recommendations on some. We noticed that people have been going back through the archives and looking at the older stuff. So we want to make sure that we tell you what our favorite ones are, why, maybe give you some updates on some stuff. Tell you kind of how the podcast started and evolved and whatever. We're going to make it fun because we're able to do that.
By the way.
Yes.
I don't know the name of the song. If it's like is it Summer of '69,
yes.
Or is that what it is?
Yep.
It's that one guy. It's that guy who, oh, God. Oh. He always sings like he's sitting on the toilet.
Yep.
Grunting. Please forgive me. That guy?
Yeah, from the Robin Hood soundtrack. Oh, I'm so tired of that song.
Yeah, it's just
everything I do.
Brian Adams.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got.
Yeah, that's.
Hey, wait a minute.
Huh.
Let's celebrate episode 200. I got the effing song right. Okay.
There was much rejoicing.
And you know what the funny thing is this is what I hate though.
Yes.
When I recognize the song very quickly and can't remember who sings it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some songs like that where, you turn it on the radio, I've heard it 500 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the hell is that? It's those one guys. It's
right.
that, it's that that white guy. I don't know who it is. But it's that one band. It's like I do know the song. Yeah. So
it's all right.
Mr. Adams, you ought to be good to know that he ought. I'm sure he listens to this show. He ought to be glad to know that I got that right.
Well, he might. I don't know. Being a Canadian, I guess. Who knows?
Well,
who knows?
He listens to it during his 3 weeks of summer. Maybe I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Summer of '69 lasted about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I hope they practiced fast.
The temperature could go above 50. Were you at Woodstock, Jay?
No.
Oh, you weren't there?
I wasn't even a twinkle yet.
Oh, weren't you? Okay.
No.
Thought you were. Oh, no, never mind. By the way, when we're talking about when did that start? When did me making fun of how much older you are than me, which is only about 2 years?
Yeah.
When did that start?
I don't know.
It was like one Dianne Feinstein joke, and I just turned it into like a franchise.
You did, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Just remember this, Jay. No matter what happens to me, you'll always be older. Did you catch? First off, two things.
Yes.
Have gone on. Did you catch any? I know you told me you didn't catch any of Sleepy Walls today, or the day we're recording this here. Did you catch any of the Senate health? They finally dragged Malcolm in front of a committee.
Really?
Well,
they've finally been listening to us, huh?
It only took 2 years to get her to show up to a hearing about the questions that seniors are having to answer when they go to get a vaccine.
No.
Now, quote unquote, they're voluntary, but we all know what that means. When
Right.
you're in a government survey here. They are asked questions about their sexual preference.
What?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. And things like that when they come up. Are they depressed? You don't have to answer them, but they're there to when you sign up online to sign up for the vaccine. So this,
My word.
yeah.
So this is for anybody, or this is for seniors specifically?
Well, right now,
Yeah.
anybody can't get it. It's
Right.
restricted.
But I mean,
so.
there's like younger people that are health workers or whatever.
As far as I know, they are getting it at their job, and they don't have to make an appointment. So, but the seniors make an appointment. They're asked questions like this, and Malcolm is trying to answer that. Well, we're just making sure these communities get served. Blah blah blah, and it's like, well, we're doing this by age, not. I mean, there was really no straight answer as to why. It's almost as bad as the census. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of strange that those things are on a questionnaire for a vaccine to sign up for something. So,
right.
you seniors out there, be prepared to be asked questions about whether or not you're depressed, what's your sexual preference. I mean, apparently you can decline to answer, but why those questions are there really...
Am I depressed? I'm 86.
Yeah, no kidding.
My hip hurts. And I haven't seen my daughter in 3 months. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in a old folks home where I'm basically in jail. So I mean, but
At least I'm not in a nursing home in New York under Cuomo. I feel pretty good about that.
well, you shouldn't feel much better here.
No.
There was
Not a much gooder track record by Governor Walz.
yeah, I
He's
mean,
not getting any of the pushback.
yeah. There's another lawsuit. Minnesota operators of music and a music association and bar owners didn't know that was. Again, filed another lawsuit about the restrictions that they're under, claiming that the capacity limits are unsustainable and so on. It's claiming there's no evidence that backs up that they need to be closed, claiming their industry's getting killed, which it is.
I haven't played out saying or anything in what? Was November the last time or October? I don't remember.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't remember.
But you'll be glad to know today,
Yes.
Governor Walz has a new plan which he won't share with us.
Oh, good.
But another new plan where he says in the coming weeks, he will likely announce a timetable, which he never does.
Right. I will likely do it.
I mean, he's never announced a timetable for anything. For loosening restrictions on businesses like bars, restaurants, and professional sports. He is, quote, not closing the door to Twins fans at Target Field in April. Well, let's hope not. I mean, it's outside, first of all.
Right.
I mean, and the Twins are talking about 25% capacity.
Yeah.
25%, okay? That's, I mean...
Most people can't throw from one person to the next in the seats at 25%.
Yeah, half the players can't do that.
Wow.
So, I mean, the Timberwolves, they couldn't make a basket from, one row to another. So, I mean, what... I mean, look, here's the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with, like, hockey and basketball. I mean, the major leagues wanted to delay the season a little bit, and I think they wanted to do it because they want fans in the stands.
Yeah.
They don't want what they had last year. Nobody's making any money. Nobody's their workers are laid off. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
What are they showing up selling hot dogs for? It's I mean, so that's probably why. You look at the Super Bowl was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Had 25,000 people there, and the cases in Florida continue to plummet.
Yeah.
So you can't find a correlation between the two.
So you mean the NBA finally figured out that you can't make money on protesting and
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's no fans an NHL and NBA game. I don't know if that's the NBA's call or the NHL's call, because in football, they were letting whatever state wanted to let fans in, they let them in.
Yeah.
Chiefs, they had fans all year in Missouri,
Right.
So I don't know what's...
Because I know the big hubbub is with Mark Cuban down in Dallas, and they weren't playing the national anthem, but nobody was there, and then
they got reversed
some
on that
people were going to
quickly.
be there, and
Here's the thing. I've heard that there's a such thing as a black national anthem. Did you know that?
Yes.
What is that?
Um,
Well, let me just say something straight out. How can we have a uniform country if we can't agree on a national anthem?
True. Although it's kind of a cool story behind it, and it's actually you hear Black National Anthem and you think it would be super divisive.
I'm not arguing that it's super divisive. I'm saying
not.
Why can't we have?
It's called "Lift Every Voice and Sing," and it's actually written by a Christian. So all these people that think that they're protesting and stuff. Let me just read a little bit of it. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. High as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. And there's more verses and stuff, but you see, it's more about like as a people, where have they come from out of slavery and that kind of stuff, and depending on God. And as far as the people who are on the left pushing for this is way worse as far as like the tying to the Christian faith and what they're trying to get rid of with, one nation under God and all the stuff with the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
People on the left, they won't criticize anything that has minorities in it. And you have to be, if you're a Christian, you have to be white to be criticized. I mean, we know the rules, Okay, great song. It's not our national anthem.
No, it's not our national anthem, but
if we're gonna have to play two anthems at a baseball game,
right?
Aren't we getting?
Yeah.
Can't we agree? I mean, you could pick a million great songs. There's a million songs about coming together and peace and all that kind of stuff. There's one national anthem,
right?
And if we can't agree to listen to a national anthem for a minute, we're pretty hopeless as a nation. Sorry, but we are. I mean, we just are.
Right. Well, I mean, it's all this critical theory that is seeped in, and it's. I don't want to say it started with Colin Kaepernick, but that's where it started to get some legs.
Well, it took someone
without any knowledge of American history.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of movements start with one act that maybe isn't meant to be what it became. I don't think Rosa Parks thought she was changing the world when wouldn't get off her butt, and rightfully so, and not move. I'm not sure Martin Luther King thought at his first sit-in he would, 6 years later, be addressing Washington. And I mean, it sometimes one little act turns into something that I don't want to say gets out of control, but it can veer in any direction at that point. My problem with Kaepernick was, maybe it's just me, There's certain things, Jay, I'm a political guy.
Yes.
And there was a time I could watch sports and not feel like I had to get some moral message from it.
Right.
I mean, it's like I can't watch ESPN anymore because I can't listen to the, black and white
It's
this.
not
and-
just them. I mean, it's, it was all throughout the NFL season, the NBA season. It was ESPN. It was CBS.
But
it was
like think about after
NBC.
9/11 when you watch sports and it was so great for 2 hours or 3 hours to watch a sport and forget about a war and forget about, and it's like if something ticks me off, I used to turn the Twins on or whatever. Now I can't.
Right.
I can't. Every player now has a Twitter, and a lot of them, with all due respect, are uninformed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, but a lot of them have people who take care of their money. They clean their underwear. They tell them what to say. They have a publicist, an agent, a manager. I mean, they're a packaged product. That's what they are. I mean, I don't like. I watched a special on the Chicago Bulls where Michael Jordan was criticized when he was younger for not speaking out and not doing this. And Michael Jordan said something. He said two things. I'll never forget what he said. He goes, Michael Jordan was a Democrat, he grew up as one.
Yeah.
He goes, Republicans buy shoes too.
Mm-hmm.
They're my fans too.
Yeah.
I can play on the Bulls and they can cheer for me and I can entertain them. We don't have to vote the same. I mean, he said, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And then he also said something that was just very profound. I wish young athletes would listen to this. He said, if I don't know something, I'm not speaking out on it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not informed about a candidate, I'm not going to endorse it. I mean, he basically said, I don't care if a guy's black. I'm not endorsing him because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking up on issues that I'm uninformed on. I'm not taking a stand for, he goes, I give money to charity. I do things behind the scenes that I believe in, and I don't need to be recognized for it.
Right.
I just thought, God, can we put a little MJ in some of these players today?
But it's not just sports. It's also movies. It's TV. It's music,
A lot of them have always done it, too. It's just the platform now is... It's almost like you can't be an actor.
Right.
Without
you can't.
Taking a stand on this issue or that
can't.
issue.
I mean, look what just happened to Gina Carano.
Scott Baio, look what happened to him.
Yeah. When's the last time he had a job? John Voight doesn't act very much anymore.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood has to put out his own movies, Well,
he's
a libertarian.
Yeah, Clint succeeded, though.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's untouched that they can't go after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are some, too, that are very, very quietly do things. But you know what? You donate $500 to a candidate, somebody will find it nowadays and put it out there. I mean,
absolutely.
Ronald Reagan, you know what his chief financer was? Frank Sinatra.
Really?
Yes, Frank, because there was no campaign finance laws.
Right.
Reagan was financed by like 3 people, and one of them was Sinatra. Yeah. They were really good friends.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he was one of the people who helped them. So, I mean, but Frank never, you watched a Frank Sinatra concert, he never said a word.
No.
It was all quiet, and, he didn't espouse anything. It's just like, it's almost like you're unusual if you're not political.
Right. Or even to be political, but like in rock music, and I think I've said this before, that in the 60s, rock and roll was anti-establishment. It was, you look at the whole punk music movement, and
I'd say that about grunge too in our day.
Yeah, but it just turns out that they're all just Democrats, and at
I don't
the end
know
of the
about
day,
grunge then, but some of them, Green Day and a few others.
Yeah, Green Day's just Democrats. They've never written a bad song about a Democrat. The only American Idiot was written about Bush.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was. But sure, they'll stand up for that stuff. But when there's corruption on the other side, they're silent.
Well, I mean, they're being used partly too. I mean, I think that's part of it. They're willful idiots. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would just love to be able to turn on. I think that's what got people about Kaepernick though, was the whole, can't we watch the damn national anthem and just not have somebody act like an ass? Now look, because let me tell you, he has the right to do what he wants, okay? But I would argue that he is representing a team that is his employer.
Yep.
And they've got look, if I can't wear a cross at work,
Yeah.
why is it that he can protest the national anthem? Okay? So, I mean, to me, it's his, and the NFL has, they don't really seem to care about their image that much.
Right.
They used to. But, I mean, they seem to be scared to cross anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he's not a fan standing there doing it. He is representing a league and a team and getting millions of dollars from the team. And that's, I think, what got to me. Like, look, pal, you got your First Amendment, but don't tell me that you're not doing that to draw attention to yourself or blah, blah, blah. Don't play the victim. Don't give me that crap.
You're at best a mediocre quarterback.
And whatever.
And you're getting paid millions of dollars.
And I'll say this too.
Be thankful.
I'll say this too. He shouldn't be blackballed. I think he did get blackballed.
Yeah.
I think Barry Bonds got blackballed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you don't have the right to be a quarterback somewhere, though. So somebody doesn't want... Michael Vick got blackballed.
Yeah.
You don't want the media circus and all that comes with that guy? Well, you created it. And maybe that isn't what he meant to do, but it's what happened.
Yeah.
So you got to live with the consequences. There's unintended consequences to everything you do. Now, let me just say this, Jay.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the capacity limits at sports.
Okay.
I can't understand why fans can't be at a Timberwolves or a Wild game. I'm still scratching my head at that. I mean, first off, the Timberwolves right now couldn't draw 1,000 fans if they wanted to. Okay?
They couldn't draw 1,000 fans on 1,000 pieces of paper.
But let me ask you this. 250 people can be in a church, and they should be. We have a First Amendment, okay?
Yes.
But why can't 500 people be at a hockey game? If you can go watch Anoka against Coon Rapids, why can't you watch the Wild play the Blackhawks?
I don't know. Can you watch Anoka versus Coon Rapids?
I think so. I think you can have limited fans now.
Really? Because that's new. Because I know you couldn't. It was only,
family or friend, family or something.
Maybe that's new.
Families. The virus punches out when families get there.
Right.
I think. I'm pretty certain that a limited number can. Which, again, I mean, makes little sense. Mom and Dad can come, but Grandma can't. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, but, I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, what does the Energy Center seat? 15,000 people?
Something like that.
17,000? You telling me it can't be 10% full? So, too, I hate watching sports with no fans. I mean, I hate it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know with like the Xcel Energy Center if there's a break-even point on ticket sales to pay vendors, to pay janitors, to pay ushers, where, door guards. If there's an issue there, that's different, and that's a business decision, and I respect that.
If there is, then the NHL should be making that case to people. And they should say, look, here's what we need. I mean, I think that's part of what the Twins did. Mm-hmm. Okay, 25%, we can at least operate.
Right.
If you make it less, we probably can't.
Mm-hmm.
And more, I'm sure they'd love to sell Target Field seats like 40,000.
Right.
I'm sure they'd love a full house. But I tell you, I hate watching sports with no fans. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's wrestling. Watch WrestleMania with no fans. Oh. Or you got a good guy to back. Nobody's. I mean, the same thing with watching a sport. The home team. Somebody's shooting the free throw and everybody's I mean, it's just because basketball, you're so close. It's just, God, it's horrible. And it's got to suck for those players who their memories of being in college or whatever is going to be shooting in an empty. I mean, it's just stupid. What we're doing is just stupid.
It's hurting everybody.
And by the way, the Minneapolis public schools have announced that kids might come back in April.
Really?
Maybe April. What do you want to bet it gets pushed off till June, though? What do you want to bet?
They won't go back in May. If they don't go in April, they're not coming back.
Well, I'd like to have a governor who thinks he can shut the schools down, but says he can't open them.
Right.
Which is interesting. It's kind of like you eat, but you can't take a dump. So that's kind of like what he's saying.
They're really going to come back for 2 months.
If that. I mean, right at Memorial Day is May 31st, and I believe that the graduation is supposed to be that week or the week after. I think it's like June 8th or something. Was when
Generally, yeah. Schools
second
run
week of
through
June,
June
is
8th
it?
or so,
Okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, if you come back in around Easter time, you're looking at 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they have to have a couple teacher workshops. A few days off. They haven't been home enough.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, I'll tell you what, I don't blame Minneapolis and St. Paul for wanting to get rid of all testing. If any year that we have to test kids, it's this year.
Yeah.
To see how bad it's fallen off.
Maybe we should standardize test teachers.
Well, you know the story of the Clintons with that, don't you?
No, I don't.
I read it in one of Dick Morris's books. Back when he was governor of Arkansas, they found that they secretly gave I am paraphrasing what he said, gave teachers like a standardized like GED test and found that X amount of them failed it, like a third. Wow. So what they did was they called Dick Morris and they asked him to do a poll. What percentage of teachers failing a standardized test would be acceptable? You know, I mean,
none.
Well, the poll ended up at 10%.
Okay.
So what the Clintons did was, in their education department, was that they dumbed down the test, so only 10% failed. That was Bill Clinton education reform in Arkansas, which explains a lot.
It does.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Bring a dentist down there, maybe too. So no, I just. Okay. Okay, Jay.
Yeah.
Remember when? Now, you're noticing on today's show, I am not doing history lesson.
Right.
I promised I would not do that until episode 201.
Yeah, that's true. So I know what's coming next week.
Early March.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Okay.
You study. Because, I mean, I tried to make it easy last time, and you got a few quarters. You got a few quarters of a point.
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, January 20, you missed Inauguration Day.
Well.
But you got the right president, so I gave you a quarter of a point.
Yeah.
Jay, let's go back.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, we're, year 5 of the show right now.
According to my contract.
Yep, early in season 5. That's no small accomplishment. A lot of people try and start podcasts, and they last for a little while, and here we are.
It's a big commitment. I mean, let me tell you, but I love podcasting because we do it anytime we want to.
Yep.
We put them out when we want to.
Yep.
I remember there was a stretch, and I can't remember what year, but where we didn't see each other for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was my anniversary, and I had softball. I don't know what it was. It was right around my anniversary, and I didn't see you for about 3 weeks. But to the audience, there was no break.
Right.
It magically we appeared. No repeats, though.
No,
I mean, remember that?
We've never done a repeat.
Yeah, I mean, when I did television, I did 209 episodes, but I did do some repeats.
Yeah.
Because it was about 8 hours to do a TV show, produce it, get it out there.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, it's 6 to 8 hours to do, a podcast episode.
And that doesn't include all the homework we do on a lot of stuff, too. I mean,
right.
We do a lot of homework.
Absolutely, because we make sure that we have articles to back up what we're saying.
Yeah.
And we try to go right to the source so that you guys have the most accurate information that we can give you. We don't want to have to go back later and say, I'm sorry, we were wrong. I mean, that we would do that. We wouldn't just, snowball you guys. But that's always been important to us and where we've come from. You can hear a lot of that back in episode 1 where we've come from. We tell the whole story there. That's kind of our origin story. But ever since those days, it was important to us to be accurate and to learn the truth. I mean, before we did the podcast, we sat in somebody's basement with a group of people once a month, and we all had assignments. Here's what you go learn. We come back. We talk about it.
Don't you think the tea parties could maybe learn from what we did instead of meeting and then meeting again the next month and meeting again the next month and meeting again the next month? Maybe they could learn, get a few assignments. What did you learn from there? I mean, but those were productive things, and I enjoyed them a lot. I mean, we talked and talked. I never wanted them to end. I mean, that's how boring I was. But the funny thing about it, we're going back 10, 11, 12, 13 years now. And I can tell you that the learning never stopped. I mean, the one thing, if I could share one, I always think, are we going to ever run out of things to talk about? Are we going to run out of guests? Are we ever going to run? And we never do. It's just every time we turn around, there's something else coming at us.
No, and that's the thing. We've talked about every year when we lay out our goals for the year. Okay, we need to circle back on these things on the podcast. We still haven't done it, and we're going into year 5.
And you can really see when I went back and listened to some of these old episodes, I'm like, God, that was great, but boy, does it need a follow-up. When did we do that? 2017, really?
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to start anything. I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, this wasn't our first iteration. We did try a podcast prior to this one, and we didn't put out a lot of episodes, 5, maybe 3. How many was
6
it?
6 or 7, I think.
So maybe 6 or 7, and they're out on YouTube. We left them out there, and you can go listen to those. But this one was for a wider audience. This one, I think that we finally understood our mission, why we needed to do it.
Well, I think if I can expand on that, one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because it's very hard to write everything, you know, and we were writing a lot.
Yeah.
But I always feel like a discussion. It's kind of like, would you rather read the book or see the movie? And for me, I always rather see the movie. I'd always rather visualize. And for us, it's listening. But I always feel like writing, I can't put it into context. I can't follow back. I can't have a discussion. I can't have a guest. I can't, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's more, people get more out of
I think some people do, but also for the people that do get more out of writing, maybe I don't really rep this much on the podcast, but I write the blog entry every week for the podcast. And so I put in there the links for a lot of the articles that we look at. I talk about what we're going to be talking about on the podcast, and I discuss it in a little bit of detail.
And we've got so many old articles to read on community solutions. There's years, a decade of stuff. You can see everything we've gone through. It's pretty public. We rehash it sometimes, but quite frankly, I mean, it's just like a never-ending soap opera that's out there. So, I mean, everything we've seen and done, I mean, I say this. People ask me, would you do it all over again? No, I wouldn't.
Really?
No, I wouldn't.
Huh.
I'm glad that's all. I like today.
Yeah, I like today, too.
I wouldn't go back and do it all again.
I guess I disagree, and I say this on behalf of the people that haven't started their journey like ours yet. It's worth every moment.
It is to do it once. We did it once. We'll help other people do it. Would I do it again? No, I wouldn't. I mean, it took years off my life to fight the city of Crystal.
But it doesn't have to take years off of their life because we did the groundwork and we learned
they're going
a
to
lot
take
of
my
this.
Social Security from me.
We have shortened your learning curve, and that's part of the reason we do this podcast as well, is because we can take all of this learning that we've done in all of our years of research and activism, and we can explain it to you in a way that helps you get involved without having to go through all of the pain and the
2014, I wouldn't relive that year for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, from everything that happened to me, on the planning commission and just the mudslinging elections we had, you getting called out at a debate, me getting called out at city work sessions, even the joy of victory helped.
Absolutely.
When we closed the book on 14, I said, you're in the rear view mirror. Don't ever come back.
I would take 2014 over 2020, I think.
Yes, I would. Say that year took a personal toll on me. And it was just, I rejoiced in November, and it was worth it, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
So that's just me. I've done my time.
But our sacrifice is your gain. So, that's why at the end of every podcast, I invite you all to email us and to talk to us because, we want to cut down on that for you.
Well, I mean, it's a has to be because, it's amazing what, I think back to starting with just our little group and I'm so proud of how it became, that I'm upset with some other people who have not brought us in. Just leave it at that. You'd think success would begin success, but sometimes some people don't care about that. So I've been disappointed with people in other places not
still thinking they can do it themselves.
Well,
but
or
they're not,
or not do it at all, and then complain when they get their tax bill, or when it's like, well, if you're not doing anything, then you're going to get the government you deserve. And so, hey, look, I don't want to be negative on it. It's a long lasting list of accomplishments, and I look back on it and I'm proud of it. But you can go back and do it again because I won't.
Wow.
Okay. I've said that
At least
before.
I know I got my partner with me.
Well,
No,
I mean, you
I'm
got
just
me
kidding.
for some things, but,
Well, that's good.
I go back and attend work sessions, and
Yeah.
I won't do it again. Okay. I've served.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my attitude.
Yeah.
And I'm still serving. We're still serving.
We paid our dues. We're still paying our dues.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazingly 5 years into this, and we're probably as strong as ever, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jay, I want
Yes.
to go back and call out a few episodes.
Okay.
One of the things I still get called this, and I still laugh when I get called it. It's funny when you do things and you bring out government documents and you show. You quote politicians and city administrators and school board members, then you get called a conspiracy theorist. It's like, well, it's not a theory if, I'm reading and quoting things accurately. And one of the things that we've always preached is that you see the same things everywhere, that the same policy somehow gets adopted in every city, big or small, far or wide, rural or urban. It doesn't seem to matter. And I think the first show we did, I'm going back a ways.
Yeah.
I'm going back to episode 8.
Ooh.
Way back, it is Ring Around Roseau, May 4th, 2017. And if you don't like super long episodes, this was less than an hour, but this is where we went over Roseau's comprehensive plan. Now, do you remember doing this one?
Yes.
And how we pointed out
we picked out Roseau basically out of a hat. We came to the show and we weren't even we hadn't
looked at it at all.
Looked at anything.
We could have been made fools of. On
it was
our own
like,
show.
well, let's look at Roseau.
Yeah,
we did it on the air.
We had our laptops on. Remember that? Oh, look at this. Oh, I've seen this before. Roseau, where they've got 3 weeks of summer and they've got a bunch of bike lanes. And it was the same old policies in an area where it made no sense. And if you want to see that every city is being pushed in the same direction, maybe at a different speed, maybe they reject some things. We've seen that.
Yeah.
But yet, Ring Around Roseau, you just put your finger on a map, throw a booger and see if it sticks, and there you have it. Go look it up. Look up Roseau's comprehensive plan. Look up the city where you are, and you are going to see everything's not the same. Everything's not laid out the same. It's not worded the same. But largely, you're going to see the same things.
Same concepts.
Same, walking and biking, active living, mixed use, add number of units. I always love saying unit. We need to serve transit to our old people, or Minnesota. Remember car-free living?
Yeah.
Where you're 10 miles from the next house. I mean, it's amazing when you see it there on paper. I mean, you'd think it sounds nuts. It
Right.
sounds nuts.
But still, to this day, all of these cities, except for ones where maybe we've started to have some impact, this is what their comprehensive plans are still like. And both in Roseau and out in Hutchinson, we visited a group out in Hutchinson once and had some discussions with them. Both of them are in very conservative parts of the state, but yet their plans, their comprehensive plans, both state that they are proud to be a progressive city council. But it is right there on paper, but nobody in the city has read it because nobody looks at it, nobody understands it. And so you shouldn't be surprised that it's got the same ideas in it. I mean, they're at a smaller scale. You have the same things going on there that you do in the metro area.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's just, it's like you can't, like, I go back to cities having their own character, their own identity, their own feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll sound like dorky terms. But when you really think about it, what do you love about, I'll put it this way, like Grand Rapids, where I have my my family's lake cabins up there. Why do I love that city so much? And I do.
Yeah.
It's a city of about 10,000. Why do I love it? Because Grand Rapids is what I call a small big town.
Mm-hmm.
They have everything that you know, they've got a Target and they've got, they got some chain restaurants. But they have a small town feel. When you go to the old downtown, they still have the old, the old guy who fixes TVs and the crotchety old hardware store and the places, the bait shop where you walk in and the floor's crooked and they got their old Legion, and there's a community, there's a identity to the town,
right?
And they have it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't want to be big, they want to be a place where you can get a job and a place where you can raise a family, and you got to have some business. They got hotels and a few other things, but they haven't sacrificed their feel.
Yeah.
It still feels like an up north small town, close community without losing, but they've grown without losing that.
Right.
So I mean, it's what do you love about it? And that's what I love about it.
But yet there are plans.
There are plans in Grand Rapids to change that. I don't know that it's being pushed too much,
right?
But they're there, and there's grant money to go get, and there's bonding dollars to maybe not now because the political makeup up there's changed a lot,
right,
from the last 20 or 30
But I'll
years.
guarantee you the city councils are the same,
Right, but the people who bring the money from St. Paul are very different.
Yes.
So I don't know, and there's no more Jim Oberstar there to build a bridge with his name on it. So I mean, all I'm saying is that I think the city, regardless of whether I like the current council or not, has done a good job of growing but not losing their identity. But you do see the same policies everywhere, and that, if you have the same policies everywhere, then everybody might as well just name their city Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Why do we bother? Why? What's the point? Why do we even have cities if they're all going to be the same?
Exactly.
Let's just have no cities, no mayors, no councils. If they're all going to be the same, what do we need individuals for?
Absolutely.
I tell you what, we'd get rid of a lot of city managers. A lot of people be, we could do some job cutting that way.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not such a bad idea. No, it's a horrible idea. It's horrible.
Yes.
Jay,
yes.
What do you have one, or should I go again?
I would just like to mention quickly, part of the fun thing for me is trying to name the episodes. There's been some crazy ones, but
it's funny. I read them. I read the name, and it's always funny to go back. Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't get it, but I like the name anyway.
But it just so happened. I mean, total luck of the draw. Our fourth episode was about New Hope. So what am I going to name it? Episode 4, A New Hope. As a Star Wars fan, I'm not going to name it anything else.
Of course not.
Of course not. So we're probably the only podcast in history that, maybe not, but that is able to do that, like legitimately name it as such. But yeah, there's been some crazy ones along the way. But we'll get into some of these, and we'll pick out some of our favorites as we go. But I just would like to say,
can I say this though? You bring New Hope,
which
we discussed first in episode 4.
Yes,
we discussed again in episode 27.
Mm-hmm.
Is New Hope out of control? And I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not asking that rhetorically. that one. I mean, our first, episode 4, we were still kind of getting our feet wet.
Yeah.
By episode 27, we kind of had the format down that we have now, and that is a really good episode.
Yeah.
And there's some blog posts that we reference in that episode to go back to previous years if you want to see stuff, because on the blog you and I had previously put some links up there and things like that, and you can see that what we're saying is not bull, okay? But I'll tell you another informative one. In fact, they're back-to-back episodes.
Yes.
Episodes 37 and 38, I would really recommend checking out, because we talked about two things that we can't stand. Ranked choice voting and odd year elections.
Oh, yes.
In Minneapolis and St. Paul, you're 2 for 2. I mean, it is really important to take those 2 episodes and how in depth we went on both.
Yeah.
And talking about voter turnout and spoiled ballots and blah, blah, blah on both of those 2 things. I mean, they're 2 issues that aren't going away.
No.
If anything, getting worse.
This was back in 2017, and now we have Minneapolis and St. Paul both with ranked choice voting. St. Louis Park, Bloomington.
Our odd year. I don't think they're ranked choice.
They are, yes,
but they're odd year.
Yes, it is ranked choice.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh goodness. How about all the odd years? Golden Valley, Hopkins. I mean, New Brighton. Our friends in New Brighton isn't anymore.
No, it's not.
But they did it wrong.
Yeah.
By giving them all another term.
Yeah. Duluth, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
School districts, referendums, and all the kind of, I know we went through how few people voted, and it's like, how can you really call yourself the mayor when 1 out of 12 people in the city voted for you?
And that's the thing. The percentage of eligible voters that go out and vote in those odd year elections is so small.
Yeah, but I'm always just so scratching my head.
I mean, it wasn't as low as like 10 or 12%, but it was really low.
It was maybe 20,
27 maybe. Yeah, it was bad.
It was not very good.
And for those where there are cities that have school referendum votes in odd years, but they don't have their school board elections in odd years.
Well, of course,
and nobody.
They don't
shows
have
up
to have
for
them in
those.
November either.
No,
I mean, there's another BS rule. They don't have to. They don't have to have it when everybody else is doing it. They can do it on Christmas Day. They could do it.
Which is ridiculous. The only thing that should ever be at any other different time are special elections to cover a vacancy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know.
That's it.
Can I call out one more here?
Yeah.
Episode 47.
Ooh.
This is a good discussion because I have had a lot of politicians in my lifetime talk about levy limits and instituting levy limits. And we really did a good job of explaining why those don't work and how cities get around them and how it's made things worse, not better.
Right.
And I have a message to anybody like running for governor or something like that. Put levy limits on the legislature. Okay? They always put levy limits on people that aren't them. But what they can control, they can spend whatever they want to.
Right.
Let's put levy limits on cities, but the legislature, no. They can spend what they want.
Yeah.
But I think we do a good job of explaining how that increases borrowing, that brought on franchise fees, that brought on raising licenses, permits, and costs of that. Levy limits really backfire, I think. And you and I talk about local control and everything being in one place and not hidden taxes everywhere. I think levy limits have done more to screw that in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Than
because they
else.
find other ways to get it done.
And then those ways stay permanent, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Like
not like
franchise fees.
Yeah, it's not like, okay, we're going to institute franchise fees to do these 3 projects. No. Once they're done,
They find another project.
or they collect the tax and it goes for the city manager's car loan or something. I mean, they don't want to shut off the revenue stream.
Right.
So, but I think that's a really good episode to speak about things like that.
And, we jumped ahead a little bit here in the chronological order. In the early episodes where we were talking at first, we didn't begin the podcast with a song. I hadn't come up with that yet. It was
What
bit
episode was that?
awkward. I don't have it nailed down, but it by somewhere in the 20s, I had figured this out, and I don't know why. I just figured, like, you know what? I need a good opening. Because I'm a musician, I love music, let me find a song that has to deal with the podcast. And, I started it with that. And I think by virtue, you just kind of tried guessing what it was, and it's stuck ever since because you get most of them wrong. But, it's just like me with the history stuff because I'm terrible with dates. But, I mean, it's cool because... it also spawned...
It gave us the music channel.
Right. So
we got slappy stuff on there.
Yeah, on Spotify, you go out to Community Solutions Music from the Podcast playlist, and we've got all of those songs from all of the episodes. And so, right now, there's almost 13 hours worth of music for you to listen to out there on that list.
You know what I like?
All sorts of great rock and roll.
There's a little button that you can randomly listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just discovered this 2 weeks ago. And so, but there's some great stuff. We got the Super Bowl shuffle in there.
Yeah.
Then we got a bunch of Beatles songs. We got a few Alice Cooper songs that I got wrong.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Billy Joel, even newer stuff like Paramore and Audio Slave, and so very, very good playlist, I think. So go out and subscribe to that. And
I don't recall how that started either. In fact, I was trying to listen to the beginnings of episodes to see where that started.
Yeah.
And you were right. It was somewhere around there, but I never nailed it down completely.
Yeah.
You somehow talked about a song and I totally screwed up. I said it was the Monkees, or it was,
Right.
I don't know what I said. I can't even think of a band, Gene Autry or something. And then you were like, no, you dummy. It was Pearl Jam or something. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think the first one we officially did was Outshined by Soundgarden.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Soundgarden I've heard of.
Yeah.
And I probably, if you played half a dozen of their songs, I probably would know it. But I didn't, like I said, that's the frustrating part about it, is knowing the song and then I can't think of who the hell it is.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like being in a spelling bee. I'm always great at spelling if I can write the word out. I'm not good if I have to say it. Mm-hmm. For some reason, my brain can't work that way.
Right.
So it's like spell, trunk, and I'm like, I write it without thinking.
Right.
Like T, okay, harder word than that. But I mean, it's just, it's amazing how your brain, you're like singing the song in your head and you don't remember who sings it. The one that sticks out was Alice Cooper's School's Out. And I remember humming it while you were saying it. And I'm like, oh, I totally know that.
Yeah.
And so,
But
I don't know what episode that was, but I look like a total idiot on that.
Well, I will say your average has improved within the last 6 months to a year from what it was.
I'm getting up to that euchre line. Yeah, so there is cool stuff on there. I love the music. On Spots Fly.
Yes.
Jay, can I jump ahead?
Yeah.
I'm jumping way ahead.
Okay.
So you got to bring this episode up. Episode 102.
Okay.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct. And I'm telling you, folks, you got to listen to this one. Because this is, I actually, by accident, kind of, I was watching, this is how it came up. I was watching a special on the St. Louis Browns.
Yeah.
Who are now the Baltimore Orioles. Mm-hmm. And they were going to move. They had an owner named Bill Veeck, who I thought he was kind of a clown. I don't really like him. But the Cardinals, that's a Cardinals town.
Yeah.
Okay, and so he wanted to move the team to Milwaukee, where he had owned a minor league team.
Mm-hmm.
And they were called the Milwaukee Brewers before the Brewers existed. And the city of Milwaukee, to lure a major league team, built a stadium, Old County Stadium that you see in the movie Major League. They filmed it in Milwaukee, even though it was the Cleveland Indians. They built it.
Yeah.
Completely with taxpayer dollars to lure a team. Well, the Boston Braves were owned by a guy named Lou Perini. Mm-hmm. And under Major League rules at the time, and I'm going into more detail than you, but they owned the Milwaukee Brewers as an affiliate. Mm-hmm. So they had the rights to that city.
Yeah.
So Perini moved his team there. And Bill Veeck ended up selling to a team that moved the Browns to Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But guess what city followed suit in building a stadium? Minneapolis.
Of course.
And that's how the old Met got built. It was built for the Minneapolis Millers, who at that time were a AAA team of the New York, soon-to-be San Francisco. Willie Mays played there. Mm-hmm. Ted Williams played there at one time when they were an independent at Old Nicollet Park. But Met Stadium was built with taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. And that had never been done. Baseball teams prior to that were family-owned businesses. The owners bought the land, built the stadium. And then from that, it spawned this public-private. Every stadium now is built with tax dollars of some kind. You know, it may not be all, but find me a stadium not built with some tax dollars. Mm-hmm. Or some tax breaks, or some favors, but you're not going to find it.
Right.
And it became this city's building stadiums to lure teams, and we still have it. I mean, we had it in Los Angeles just recently. They built a huge stadium without a commitment from any NFL team, and pretty soon 2 NFL teams picked up and left.
Yeah.
You know, St. Louis and San Diego. So, I mean, and the Minneapolis Sports Authority, the taxes that paid for the Metrodome, that, by the way, we're still paying, even though the Metrodome doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. We go into Target. I mean, it's a really good episode to the local ties to stadiums. And, you know, obviously there's always pros and cons to everything, but God, that's a good episode. I enjoyed it.
On a related note, there are 2 podcasts. This is backing back up again. It's funny, you're speeding ahead. I'm putting on the brakes, but that's okay. And they were right next to each other. We had episode 30. They're both labeled 39. I guess I call them both 39, even though one is part 1 and one is part 2. Where early in our development, we decided, you know, we're going to try some things, see what works for us. And it ended up, I think, being a good podcast, but it just didn't fit what we were doing. You know, we had Brad Carlson come into the studio, and
my baseball
buddy. Right. He has his own radio show, and we've been on his radio show a number of times talking about political stuff. So he came in here, and we had a baseball discussion, or you guys did, and I kept trying to find ways to tie it back into politics because
we kept ignoring it.
It was I mean, not so much politics, but leadership and things like that. But
you did tie it with the minor leagues, and we did make those points.
We actually keep that today.
People. Yeah. I mean,
It was a very important episode because we came up with this is how we talk to people about what we do now.
It was a microcosm, but Brad and I turned it into our own fun discussion.
Right.
If you like sports, I mean, you know, it's fun, but it is a microcosm. You're right, of what we do of taking somebody starting at single A, going to double A, going to triple A, getting up to the big times, and following that formula.
Right.
You know, I mean, it is.
And why we call it a farm team and not a bench, because you're not sitting on the bench.
No, you're working.
You're working.
You're definitely working. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump way ahead again.
Okay.
One of our highest downloaded episodes.
Ooh, I like this.
Well, you like it. Our local school district will not like it. From March 13th, 2000, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A Vision for Failure. Jay, I'll tell you.
Which episode is that?
106.
106.
I'll tell you what, Jay. You want to talk about an episode where, you know, we really wrote a clinic on how to call out politicians and BS from, in this case, the school district. Mm-hmm. And if you go back a number of years, I did a article on their strategic. I don't know what it is about school. They all think they have to come up with some. They're all copying Stalin. They all have to come up with a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan or a 91-year plan or whatever, you know, for all this stuff. And we decided to see. They came up with their new one under Carlos Jenkins, right?
Yeah.
Or no, what's his name?
Not Carlos Jenkins. No, that was
that's the whole Viking linebacker, right?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, Jenkins something. Doesn't
Carlton.
matter. Carlton doesn't matter. Yeah. Carlton, Fresh Prince. Okay. So Carlton Banks. Okay, so doesn't matter. Anyway, we decided to see how their previous strategic plan did, which nobody seemed to care about.
Right.
You pick up the paper, you won't see anything about it. You sure won't see any of their progress tracked on the district website.
Right.
I had to go to the Department of Education. We had to go to the Department of Education for a lot of it. But to see what they focused on and how they got there or didn't get there.
Right.
And you can listen to that on episode 106. Again, if you live in this area, be prepared to be a little upset. Okay, because it wasn't good.
Right.
It's not good news what we had to put out there.
What they decided they were going to focus more on educational results, right?
Academic achievement.
Academic achievement, yeah.
And what they were doing before that, I have no idea. But it was an interesting episode.
Yeah.
And one that, you know, it's funny. A lot of times I like the episodes where you and I just kind of shoot from the hip and we don't really do much prep.
Yeah.
But episodes like that where you can track what someone says and how much progress or little progress is made.
Yeah.
Really, really are important episodes. You know, to just show how much BS you're being fed.
Yeah, absolutely. Another show where we did a lot of prep work was episode 67, Shark-MADO Is Running Loose.
It's MADO.
Yes, the Minnesota Association of Development Organizations. And most of you maybe don't know this, but almost all of Minnesota, save a small strip that runs from St. Cloud down to the southeast corner of the state, minus the cities, obviously, which is run by the Metropolitan Council.
Ooh.
That's the only place in the state that's not run, that strip, that is not run by a regional government. There are 10 regional governments all around the state, from the Arrowhead area all the way back around again. And so that is a good one. You learn all about how these people are not directly elected to this position. They might get elected to a city council or a county board, and from there, them or staff members from those places then are appointed to go serve at these regional boards who take it's funny. There's a Minnesota chapter, but each state has a chapter of this, and then there's a National Association of Development Organizations, and they come up with their talking points, their policies that they want to push. That gets dumped down to the state ones, and the state to the local, because all 10 of these, the Metropolitan Council is not part of this. They're independent. But these other 10 are all part of the Minnesota Association of Development Organizations, which offers help with comprehensive plans, which is how all this stuff gets into the comprehensive plans. And all of these other things that, they might work in some places and other things might not work in other places, but yet they're still kind of pushing the same thing across the state, no matter how different it is. So if you're outstate, you definitely want to listen to that. The other thing, just because we're right there, was the episode before it. Episode 66 was probably one of my favorite ones to record. That is the real scoop at the MNGOP convention. We alluded to this yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago. And you all might not know this yet because it's super new, but because I'm producing it, I'm going to rep. Andrew has started his own full-length podcast, and where he's going to be doing just interviews with people on subjects that he likes.
I might do a little bit of monologue too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The first one, he had his best friend Kevin Lean on to talk about different kinds of gambling. The second one, we had Jeff Colbon, who is always fun to talk to. He has his opinions.
Former council member, fellow blogger.
Absolutely, and that was a really fun show, and so that one actually is out, and we'll be working on getting the third one out by the time that or shortly after maybe this one comes out. And we had the head of the Minnesota Libertarian Party on. And Chris was a great guest.
Yeah, Chris Holbrook. He was a really good guest.
But we were talking on there a little bit about this episode and how we got media passes. Or no, that was in Jeff's episode, wasn't it? Yeah, that was 2 ago. How we got media passes to the GOP
Greatest
convention
I've ever gone to.
Absolutely.
To do anything. The only thing I didn't like was, a lot of the people there knew us.
Yeah.
But the people who didn't, I got a lot of glares because I had a media badge on. So they probably thought I was working for the Trib or for PR or something. And I'm like, no. It was fun. Ben Cruzy was certainly fun to sit next to.
Yeah.
Tweeting up a storm.
As was I. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good. But it is good, though, because we interviewed some people running. Mm-hmm. Remember that? I mean, Paul Kinnear and David Sefrin, who came on the show at that later. We caught up with some people who were running for office, and we met a lot of Stacey Braun was another person there.
Yeah.
So we it was a good episode where we got to have those interviews and chat about what we saw or didn't see and how fast we got out of there and blah, blah, blah. So it was greatest convention I've ever been to.
Absolutely. Didn't take a vote.
Maybe they could talk me into attending another one if I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, well.
But I will tell you, knowing people has its advantages, Jay, because we were able to cajole media passes pretty easily.
Yes.
By knowing people who know people who know people who know people.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm sure we could again. But
yes.
Yeah. Good episode. Very well downloaded, by the way.
Yes.
Lots of downloads on that.
Absolutely.
I got to make a pub. And I know I'm way ahead of you again, but I got to make a pub for episode 112.
Okay.
Let's make a deal. One of the things is that we point out about all these international agreements that affect your city. I mean, wanting to put climate measures and stuff, is that none of them get ratified by the Senate. And how we don't really enter into treaties anymore. Everything is this non-binding, voluntary, blah, 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 that we could just enter in administration. Ever since Kyoto got voted down, I don't know if we've had a treaty vote in the Senate since.
Yeah.
We just join these things, and executive branches just, you use executive orders or bully with grant money or whatever to kind of cajole these things along, and how we're missing a step. And that's if we are to join a treaty, and also how cities are not supposed to be doing this. They are not supposed to be signing on to things in foreign areas.
Right.
They don't have the authority to do that. States
But yet
can't.
they are.
But they absolutely are.
I mean,
and they get away with it because it's this non-binding blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But if you're doing something with that in mind, you are breaking the Constitution.
Right. But I mean, there are groups like World Mayors for Climate and things like that, where you have mayors that get together from all over the world. In Davos, you have government working with business, and you have these mayors then that take up some of these new Green Deal things. And, it's ridiculous because cities should not be working on that level.
No.
But
I'll tell you what, here's another bad episode.
yeah, a bad episode.
Yeah, we misspelled something.
Oh.
Episode 121, fro bad to worse.
Which is different than From Bad to Worser,
Yeah, well,
which was came out later.
Worser's all right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But that's how we examine the radicals that were put on the Hennepin County Board.
Oh, yeah.
How we got worse people.
It went from left to lefter.
Yeah, yeah, more leftist. From Fernando, Marion Green, Angela Connolly, and Debbie Gittel.
Yeah.
Godel? I don't know how you pronounce that. Godel? Godel
okay.
sounds a little too German, but so we had that as well. And I've got to say something else too.
Yeah.
Because we had Jim Adams on from the City of Crystal several times.
Yeah.
One time was very funny. I didn't even realize this until I listened to the episode.
Yeah.
Episode 92.
Yeah.
A debt-free city. And we basically just talked really that subject only with Jim.
Yeah.
It was a very in-depth by the numbers. And it's that show is the first show that I said Blong Wang on that show.
Boy.
Because I talked about who I voted for, that I
Right.
wrote in Harry Arm or something, because it was Fernando. I remember this. The only Fernando I know used to pitch for the Dodgers.
Right.
But you had Fernando and Blong Wang, and then we argue whether it was Tang or Yang or Wang or whatever it was. And I don't know which Wang you were talking about, but it was that was where Blong Wang came from.
Oh boy.
So go back. Definitely got to check.
Yeah.
Episode 92.
Yeah. But I mean, you make a great point going back to that other episode with Hennepin County, is that this has been a trend where you have a liberal city council, liberal county board, that they get kicked out for people that are further to the left. And it's happened in Minneapolis. It's happened in St. Louis Park. It's happened in Golden Valley.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, where people who are Democrats are getting voted out because they're not far left enough.
Well, it's really happening in the far left places, though.
Right.
If you're already left, nobody's left enough.
Right. I mean, it's not happening in Elk River.
No,
but yeah.
But it's not. If the Dems know that they own a seat, they're going to put in the biggest whack job they can find.
Yes.
That's what it seems to happen right now. So, and if you're not, you're going to get primaried. You're going to get, like I said, we talked about this when Michelle Fischbach defeated Colin Peterson in November. Is that still going to be considered a swing district?
Right.
And I'm going to say no, because the Dems don't have another Colin Peterson.
Right.
And
That's staying.
And we don't know about redistricting.
Right.
But I think for Congressman Peterson, I think the party lost it for him. He didn't change. The party changed.
Yeah.
And he got swept under. It was a matter of time. Mm-hmm. You knew it was going to happen at some point, and you saw the president win District 7 by like 38. So you knew he would have coattails of some point. He certainly brought Jim Hagedorn with him, even though he didn't win Minnesota. So, I mean, it was just the year it was going to happen. And you just wonder if another congressmen like that can come up. I mean, this blue dog, there's like 5 people now. It used to be, you go back to the Reagan years, and you had a third of the Democrats were, some of them were pro-life, some of them on the social issues, some of them voted for the Reagan tax. Dick Gephardt voted for the Reagan tax cuts. Yeah. Al Gore was pro-life. People might not remember this. Jesse Jackson was pro-life. He called abortion black genocide.
Yeah.
I mean, but all of a sudden, when they had higher ambitions,
right?
Al Gore couldn't get elected anywhere nowadays in Tennessee.
Oh, no.
He couldn't get elected. Probably the most liberal city, Al Gore couldn't get elected to the city council. Okay? But things were different. They were different for Al Gore's father, who was a senator. Most people don't know that. So, I mean, those folks have been pushed out. I don't know where they are right now. I don't know.
Yeah. We have Joe Manchin in West Virginia, and
there's about Joe Manchin's more reliable than about a quarter of the Republicans, as far as I'm concerned.
He might be to the right of Mitt Romney.
Well, but I mean, Lisa Murkowski, and I mean, I would rather have Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably more reliable on a lot of key issues. I mean, certainly if he wasn't, he'd lose in West Virginia. I can tell you that. And there's a handful of Dems that really kind of hold the power right now.
Yeah.
In the Senate. I mean, I don't really trust very many of them, but I mean, it just seems like. And look, I don't want politicians to be sellouts. I mean, I'm not saying that, but there's, your job's to represent the citizens, not, go. I don't know. Look. Washington is something I'm not going to solve, and I'm not going to try to solve. Okay, just F Washington right now. Just F them. I'll tell you what. You want to listen to a funny episode? Is it your turn or my turn?
My turn.
All right, you go.
All right.
You still going backwards? Or you going forwards?
I'm going backwards still. I'm trying to get caught up. You jumped ahead so fast. Episode 77, Vision Zero or Zero Vision. I bring this up because, I mean, this is back in the year 2018. Back of August 2018. And
What episode now?
77, yes. We broke, there was a group that I found out about just doing research, and this is what we do. The
ones that blocked you on Twitter?
It might have been one of the, it might have been. I know I found these guys on Twitter, yeah. That's
Open
how
Streets Minneapolis, I think is the group that blocked me.
Oh, yeah? Oh, lovely. And they weren't so open, were they? So Vision Zero or Zero Vision. We, through my Twitter research and going through all these different organizations and stuff, I found the Vision Zero Network. And nobody had heard of these guys back in 2018. And we talked about how their efforts were going to affect planning ordinances, and that their whole goal was to make sure there were 0 traffic deaths in Minnesota, and that they wanted to get all of these traffic calming measures into place. It says here that they want narrower lanes, choke points at intersections, lower speed limits, speed bumps, roundabouts, and yeah, we didn't hear much from these guys. And we thought, well, they're one of those groups that they get money and they're trying to get things done. But, and then 2020 came around, that wonderful year. And what, lo and behold, do we find? Minneapolis reducing their speed limits down to 20 miles an hour. And you know who was behind it? Vision Zero Network. They were part of that movement to push that effort forward. So we were kind of ahead of our time a little bit there, which we have been on a lot of things.
Unfortunately, none of the people that mattered listened.
Well,
right?
That's true.
Well, and look, let me say this too. Vision Zero is a great goal. I mean, I wish so many people didn't, lose their, didn't drive impaired or lose their, I mean, accidents happen, though in every walk of life, there's just some risk there's risk to boating, there's risk to, you get struck by lightning picking your nose. I mean, accidents happen. It's unfortunate, but they do. But if vision zero means going back to the days of the horse and buggy, I mean, that's not possible. We have to learn how to live with cars and trucks and trains and all that, and minimize the deaths as much as we can. I mean, that's just it's kind of like my view on the environment, Jay, that I've shared before. We can be good stewards of the environment. We can protect certain things without destroying our standard of living. That's the test. That's what we got to do. Episode 136. I'm jumping way ahead to the funniest episode we ever did.
I don't even have to ask.
All you have to remember is John Elder's colon and Rebecca Necker Knocker. I shouldn't have to say any more.
Right.
But we both had like a meltdown of look, we listened to it today. It's the funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
I listened to it at work and I was laughing the entire day. So episode 136, Hey Big Spender. And unfortunately the subject matter is not too much fun. It's all about these huge preliminary levies. And the episode is quite long. It's an hour and 25? About an hour 12 into it. If you don't want to listen to the whole thing, listen to the last 15 minutes, okay? Just
it's a good listen, though.
Yeah,
it is. Because, this is one of those topics that we cover usually once a year. When they make their levy limits, we talk about the worst offenders. Or not levy limits, they're preliminary levies.
Yeah.
We talk about the worst
September,
offenders.
yeah.
And we did a show like that this year, and we did it, last year being 2020. In 2019, This was a show for that. And it's important because, like in this show, 2019, New Hope raised their taxes so high because they were building that city center over in that area.
Yeah, that they got bonding money for too, by the way, from the state.
So it helps you to understand what some of these cities are spending for tax increases. And again, these are what you find on your property tax statement, not the hidden taxes, which, I argue, and so does Andrew, that all of the taxes that you pay at the city level should be on your property tax statement so that you can see what you're paying. They shouldn't be stuck in a utility bill. They shouldn't be hidden on page 247 of a comprehensive annual financial report. It's ridiculous. But it's important that you hear these shows because it helps you to understand what they do and why. Because their time schedule for doing this stuff too, so that you can go in and talk to your city council people before the truth and taxation hearing when nothing can be changed.
Yeah, well, it can be, but not much is.
No.
Really, they work on the budget for much of the second half of the year, which is really the truth. I mean, usually the big meetings are in July and August.
Yeah.
They have to, pardon me, set a preliminary levy by September 30th, but typically they do it in early September.
Right.
Just to give themselves a little wiggle room. That's the statement you get in November. We've talked about that before. And then they set a permanent one. They have to do it by December 31st, but typically they do it in their first meeting in December. I've seen cities put it off, especially cities that get a lot of pushback or, aren't satisfied with the budget. They may go back and do some more.
Right.
But that's their schedule. I mean, I hate to say it, but now's the time you got to be looking at the budget. Now's the time. Look at last year's compared to the year before and so on and so forth. I mean, because when they start working that and they've set a preliminary levy, there's not much that gets tweaked from that. There may be some, but fundamentally it ain't changing.
Right.
So
that's why a lot of them go into debt and start borrowing things, because that's another way to take money that they didn't account for in the budget.
Well, and I would also say, I always feel that we're too focused on the levy. Not you and me, but everybody's too focused on the levy. If the levy doesn't go up, but you got franchise fees, you're in no better shape. In fact, you're in worse shape because now the taxes are being paid in two different places.
Yeah.
The hidden taxes.
Yeah. Where episode 142, we're borrowing trouble. We hit on just that with the debt levels of a lot of these places, like Maple Grove, like Three Rivers Park District.
Boy, that was tough to.
That was a tough one.
That was.
But
it's amazing how much government owes.
Yeah.
You know, like if we all died in like a volcanic eruption tomorrow, every government would have to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Not only from, I mean, we talked about it during the pandemic, not only from their local stuff, but from their obligations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from other debt obligations.
Right.
You want to hear some things done right, though?
Yes.
I recommend episode 150.
Yeah.
Our year 4 beginning show that was where I made so many incorrect predictions. I predicted Joe Biden would bow out of the race at this point. This is right before South Carolina and Super Tuesday and right before the pandemic started.
Yeah.
And we actually recorded this a few weeks before that because the date on it is March 1st. But I think we had Mark in a few weeks before that because it doesn't matter when you record it. That's the dirty little secret here. But Mark Corrin from Oak Grove, the former mayor of Oak Grove. He was the mayor there for 8 years, a councilman. He was on the planning commission, long-time small business owner, long-time Oak Grove resident, and a great story with Mark.
Absolutely. And I would say one of, between him and Jim Adams, the pioneers in what we preach and what we're,
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, meeting Mark was kind of a precursor for us. It kind of, we didn't know each other until, 2012 or 13. And then Mark became so important to our, our entree of people. And a credit to him because he comes and speaks, and he's always very available. And even when he was mayor, this guy's a small business owner and all that. Yet, Mark will make time to come speak at a lot of places. So he spoke at our Met Council event years back. I mean, he's just a great guest to have all around.
Absolutely, we love having Mark on the show. So,
what's your next one?
Oh, my next one. Man, it's hard to pick, and the closer we're getting to the newer ones, it's like, well, everybody's heard that stuff. But there are where'd it go here? I did like episode 152, An Organized Mess. That's about Education Minnesota.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So it goes into detail about the union, how big it is, how powerful it is, how much influence they actually have in education, because our school districts are supposed to be independent. Well, they get so much pressure from the Department of Education at the state and then the teachers' unions. There's really no independence to it at all.
Independent school district is the biggest contradiction in terms you'll ever find.
I mean, look at this. I mean, you have a school.
Not all their fault either.
Well,
80% of it is, but some of it's not.
Yeah. Well, take a look, though. I mean, this is kind of nepotistic, if you ask me. You have a school board that the people elected are often the people that are recommended by the teachers union. And then the school board goes and finds a superintendent to hire that often then is, someone that fits in with the teachers union. And then so you have the teachers who are paying the union to fight on their behalf and getting people hired to the school board that will be their bosses, that are sympathetic to what the teachers already want. And you have no check in the system, as it were. Everything is just,
Well, I think.
I wish I could pick my own boss. Oh, wait, I did. I'm self-employed.
Yeah,
but that's the only time.
I think it's even worse than that in some respects because you talk about being independent school districts. Well, how can you be independent if you're in a school board association or if you're in a Metropolitan School Board Association, or you lobby, the school boards have lobbied for a lot of changes that they now complain about.
Right.
I mean, they get together as lobbying groups. You lose your independence when you do that.
Right.
I mean, like I say, a lot of some curriculum stuff and all that come down from the state, but many of those things are things that they've been asking for.
Right.
The free money and all that. So it's kind of like, they complain about a lot of the things that they've advocated for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the state, other than setting standards for graduation and so on and so forth, should be as little involved in education as possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Constitution does lay out that we're supposed to have a uniform system of schools. It doesn't say it has to look the way it does.
Right.
So I'm going to jump way ahead.
Yeah.
Number 172.
Ooh.
We may be the only people I've seen to really do this. We talked about the CARES Act in this, and where all this COVID-19 money ended up getting spent, by a lot of these cities, or going to be spent. And, I will say that we did document this with places to look and articles and so on and so forth. Also, it's a great episode because in the beginning, we talk about how Kamala passed away.
Kamala.
And
Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
And then
the wrestler.
Came back the next day as the vice presidential. It all happened in a 2-day span.
It is funny. His
Kamala,
real name was James Harris.
James Harris. Yeah. Unbelievable.
That's good.
That's a great one to check out. I've seen very, very little of where that money's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We're one of the few people that has really looked at that money and where it went and where it's still going. I mean, there may be more that comes with that.
Yeah.
So and you mentioned the 20 is plenty. We went into that in episode 187 very specifically.
Yeah.
And another education one that I really liked, the MEA Activist Convention.
Yes.
Episode 181, where we talked about what actually went on and who these guest speakers were and went into debt.
Radical they were.
Marxists and things like that that they invited to speak.
Another reason to get your kids out of the school system.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, too. Any episode we did on estate bonding, where, again, I can't think of another show or anything that broke down so much of where that money ended up, where all the pork projects went and all the projects to reelect so-and-so and all that. Episode 185 is the most recent.
Yeah.
But we've done several of those. Every time there's a bonding bill, we break it down, show you where the local money went.
There might be another one this year.
There may be. In fact, I was going to bring that up at the beginning. I might do it on one of the upcoming shows because I have not had a good source as to where all this money supposedly is going to go.
Yeah.
But another $518 billion.
Word.
This is 3 months after signing $1.9 billion. But the governor wants more.
Right. Not enough.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll get most of what he wants.
We're going to bond in a budget year.
We have before.
Yeah, well.
So it wouldn't shock me if we did it in both years. I mean, judging by the votes last time, 64-3 in the Senate, which is supposedly Republican controlled, and 100 to 34 in the House. And we did a lot of breaking down of where that money went exactly.
Yeah.
It's a show you got to hear to see where your tax dollars are being spent and interest will be paid.
Now, I would say that we haven't really talked about this, even privately, but 2020, what a crazy year, but yet I would say in the way that it changed our podcast permanently. I would say there was a shifting when we went through COVID and went through the riots, because we would plan things in advance, and we would be, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. And all of a sudden it was like every week, oh my word, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this. And it was like things were unfolding in front of us as we were reporting on them. I mean, when the riots broke out, I was watching it, and we were commenting on what was going on and getting angry about it, sitting here in our underground bunker that in real time we're podcasting on what's going on.
Well, remember, we were breaking curfew, Jay. We were here breaking curfew.
Right.
We were being extra naughty, but we are essential.
We are essential.
So that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, just to make another comment, a crazy year. Some of the other episodes on police reform, on things like that, were good to check out. David Strom was such a great guest.
Yeah.
We are essential. That's what the podcast.
And that's why we were able to break curfew, because we had a podcast that stated we were essential.
Yeah.
That was our proof.
But our guests over just a thank you to our guests from Garrett Christensen and Elk River, Paul Seefeld, Brad Aho from down in wherever he's from, Bob Canada,
Olga Parsons,
and of course Jim, Mark
Nancy.
Corin, Nadine Heinrich, and we've had Philip Parrish, Jeff Johnson, Mary Stevens Giuliani, just a great lineup of people, a good lineup of interesting folks to have on. To, again, give you, it's a lot of the people doing some of the stuff we preach about and try to get, and it's great to have them on and actually see it happen.
Nate Truesdell from Champlin was on. Yeah,
Nate was a terrific guest.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of friends out there, Jay. A lot of friends.
One thing, I wasn't quite done with the whole COVID era yet.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember? I mean, we were still meeting here, and we had David Strom in studio with us when we did that podcast, talking about all of the lockdowns and the things the governor was doing. And I think it was prior to that, wasn't it, when you got COVID, you and your family, and we had to do those podcasts. I had to set up a whole rig at home in front of my computer, and I had you on the telephone. And we had to do our podcast that way. This show didn't even shut down when you had COVID.
Yeah, I don't remember what those episodes were. Right before, a couple of weeks before we had David on. David Strom was on episode 159.
Yeah,
which was published May 3rd, 2020. I want to say we taped it a week or two before that, but yeah, it was. It'd be the early to mid-April where I was. The wife and I were in extra lockdown.
Yes.
I was, we were going nowhere. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And unfortunately, my poor wife got sick. I didn't.
Right.
But I still have the antibodies. And I'm getting checked next week to make sure I still have.
Well, that's good. But that was a very, very interesting way to do the podcast. And we've done a couple of things like that. We did one recently where we were on the road going to speak somewhere, and
that's right.
Yeah, we had the recorders of the car. We had a microphone. It was.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we do to keep this podcast going.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, we never shut down at all. We just kept going and going and going. And, it's a testament to both of us. I mean, if I didn't feel passionately about this stuff, Jay, I wouldn't bother. I mean, there's just.
Yeah. Well, that's why so many people quit. They don't get to episode 100, let alone 200.
No, I don't. I think people quit. I took a long time to develop a second show in my head before I did it. And I think we really, even though we didn't know exactly where we were going with this podcast, we had the knowledge and knew enough people and had the foresight to do it. I think podcasts fizzle out because two things. One, the time it takes and commitment. And two, you don't have anything interesting to say. I mean, if you're going to do a podcast, you're going to do a podcast about the twins, okay? I mean, after 4 episodes, all you're doing is repeating yourself.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to talk about. If you're going to do a podcast about, a lot of subjects, it's kind of like, oh, this would be great, this would be great, this would be great. And then it peters out. I mean, when I started putting my second podcast together, I got lists of people I want to have on.
Yeah.
I mean, lists that would take up years. Okay. You and I talk about doing this and we never run out of ideas.
No.
And so you have to change it up to keep things fresh, keep the audience fresh. And I think too many people go to a podcast with a short-term vision and no long-term vision.
Right.
No place they want to go. They just think that if they go out and talk, they're going to get advertisers or they're going to get, I mean, I can just tell you firsthand that it's much bigger than that. You have to develop first, and then that stuff may or may not come.
Right. You can't just show up and complain about the president or the governor every week and let that be that. You know, there's more to it than that. And with us, we have a long-range vision to fill up 20,000 seats across the state in local elected and appointed positions.
Oh, Jay, that just makes me cry every time.
But that gives us, 2/3 of a conservative majority in all of these local seats. And we can do it because most of the counties vote conservative. It's just we have to find the candidates and we have to train the candidates and we have to be able to network and pull things together. And it's finding good people. And until we finish that and in this state and then the other 49 states after that our job will finally be done.
Even then it won't be done. Though,
right, because moving
fight.
them up to the state level, moving them up to the federal level. Yeah.
Politics is like death. It never takes a holiday.
Yeah.
Just remember, it never takes a holiday. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know what to say to that. I think we'll be dead before that happens. But
yeah.
Maybe somebody will take our place by then. I don't know. But I do know that it's always fun to do this podcast, Jay. I mean, I'm never, damn, I got the podcast to go to. Yeah,
Right.
I never have that feeling.
No.
Even now, it's like, you'll never run out of songs. I'll never run out of bands I don't know. You will always have something, always have a good story to tell, and it's great that everybody lets us in every week too. I mean, our audience really has boomed. I mean, we can see it; it's boomed a lot.
Yeah,
so it's great. It's great. People are checking. It's one of the reasons we want to do this show, Jay, because lately so many people have been checking out past shows, and I just, for me, I just want to give a pitch to those shows. And that they're, as reminders, if you are a recent fan, and maybe don't know we've been on the air this long, I want people to go back and listen to those old episodes. And, you guys binge on Flixnet or whatever it's called. Why don't you binge on Community Solutions?
Yeah, that's a good plan because there's a lot of learning in there for sure. And that's real life. Netflix, you watch something, it's over. It hasn't affected your life other than maybe made you happy or made you cry for an hour and a half. But this way, it actually affects your life. Actually affects your life. It's better than watching reruns of MacGyver.
Oh, well, I'll agree with that. Although it doesn't beat Quantum Leap, I can tell you that much. I know you used to watch that.
Yeah, Quantum Leap.
That was a good show.
Yeah. Scott Bakula?
Yeah. See, my mom had a crush on him, and that's why we always watched it. Yeah. I always used to remember him as the quarterback on Necessary Roughness. But, I liked that show, too. It was a good show. I mean, far-fetched, but that's what made it great. That it wasn't as realistic as the Dukes of Hazzard, but,
right.
Right. By the way, I got to say, I couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. But at some point, we got to find the one where we talked about TV theme songs at the beginning.
Yes.
And I couldn't find that episode.
Okay.
But that's when we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
So we talked about, I gave my top 5.
Yeah.
I don't even remember them all, but I just remember Simon and Simon was my dark horse. And I knew you'd say Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
That was what I thought you would say. And then we did, Wheezy? It was Wheezy.
Yeah.
Jefferson's?
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember what I think I said Magna P.I. and Dallas. I think were my other two of all-time favorite sitcom or TV theme songs, So, but I thought you'd say Dukes of Hazzard, and I can't quite disagree with that though.
Yeah.
I mean Simon and Simon I think is the most underrated, but Waylon, tough to beat there. You know the movie that Dukes of Hazzard was based off of, Moonrunners? Did you know this?
No.
Okay, the creator of Dukes of Hazzard, a guy named Guy Waldron, he did a movie called Moonrunners that was narrated by Waylon Jennings.
Oh.
And it was about people running shine and blah, blah, blah in the Old South. And he got called by Warner Brothers and asked if they could make a comedy show about it.
Huh.
And so he had to rework the show to make it. Because it's funny. I love the Dukes of Hazzard's because Boss and Roscoe are my favorites. And I love it when they're in their goofy stage.
Yeah.
But I kind of like some of the early episodes about Run and Shine.
Yeah.
Because that storyline kind of petered out as the show, and they realized families and kids loved the show.
Yeah.
So it became more tailored to that. But if you go back and watch some of those Run and Shine episodes, I learned so much about the South by watching Dukes of Hazzard. I can remember the episode where they had Stonewall Jackson Day, and my dad had to explain to me who Stonewall Jackson was. I didn't know who he was. So it was things you learn. You learn that by watching Bang Bang Theory or whatever today. Dukes of Hazzard, way more educational than that. Or whatever they're called. What are they called? What are the shows called now? I mean, what are shows?
I don't know. I don't watch any of them.
You don't watch anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't.
TV got terrible.
Did it get terrible?
Found other things to do.
Is there just too many channels on, and you can never.
There's good shows,
but you can't hone in the shows because you have more than 6 channels now. Everybody's not watching Cosby Show at 7 p.m.
Right.
like they were. You'll never have that again.
No,
you can't have that audience.
Nope.
It just won't happen. Saturday night's main event.
Nope.
You'll never draw that kind of a. All right, Jay, it's that time again.
When did this start? What episode did we start this?
I've probably done this for maybe 6 months now. Maybe?
Yeah. Did I just start ranting at the end of shows, or how did we start this?
I think you had a show, and I do not recall when, where you had something to say at the end of it. And I haphazardly, I was trying to think of like an acronym I could call.
Yeah.
I'm trying to listen to you, and I'm trying to come up with like an acronym of what you're doing.
You're always only half listening.
Yeah,
to me.
true.
Yeah.
And it was you went into a sermon. I don't know how to describe it any other way. It was about politics and about serving and all that, but you went into a sermon.
Yeah.
You just went off.
I'm apt to do that. Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the time, but you went off on a tangent. Yeah. And it made me think of a sermon. Now, what do I think of when I think of a sermon? Brother love.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, that was what you said had to have music to it. It needed that extra like dressing on it.
Yeah.
It needed music. So that's when I kind of thought, how about if I play the Brother Love theme while you're doing the SOS, sign off sermon.
Right.
So because you used to always say something at the end and then your Minnesota tagline at the very end. And then it kept getting longer and longer and longer. And it's kind of like, okay, this is like, I kept thinking too of the pregame preach.
Yeah.
When the old punter for the Vikings, the pregame preach. All right, we're going to get together.
Yeah.
No, it was Coleman.
Oh yeah.
We're going to get together.
Coleman,
we're going to praise the Lord. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to get. He would on the radio and he would PA would kick it to him and he would go into a sermon. There's no other way to describe it.
Right.
Praise the Lord. We are going to win by 5 touchdowns, baby. We're going to. He would just. Boom. And Coleman could do it at the drop of a hat. I mean, time for the pregame preach. All right, boom. And he was just like, it was almost like Brother Love. He was in character.
Yeah.
But I kept thinking this needs music to it. We have to have music. What do you say to a guy who's preaching? And I'm like, the Brother Love theme based on the greatest televangelist of all time.
Well, greatest fake televangelist.
No.
Robert Tilton. That
Bruce Pritchard based the greatest televangelist ever, Robert Tilton.
Okay.
No question about it, out of Dallas. Success in life. The greatest scam ever run. Just send me your money. But, Bob, I only have $1 to give. Well, you send me 50 cents. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Pretty soon you're going to have $2. Send me one. Show me your faith. I mean, just greatest thing ever. Okay. So I think that's how that got. I don't know what episode.
Yeah.
I just remember sitting here not really listening to you, but thinking that this had to have, there needed to be something more with this end of the episode, pep talk you gave. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, oh my God, it needs music. That's what it means. So we're going to keep the tradition going.
That's good.
At least until we get copyrighted. And once again, Community Solutions presents jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. The women love him, the men want to be him. The king of sting, the master of disaster, the Roddy of Piper, the suffering of succotash. I present with the sign-off sermon, S.O.S. Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew. Episode 200. Whew. That takes determination. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, and for any of you that want to do anything, success in life comes through determination and not quitting and not putting something down when it gets tough. It's about persevering through the hard times, through the lean times, through the times when you're crawling through the mud, through the times when you want to give up, when you feel sick, when the rules change because you did something and you succeeded and they just changed the rules. Well, it's happened to us over and over and over and over again. But you know what we do? We just show up the next day. We show up the next day and do our job. And again, that's not patting ourselves on the back. That is just, we are so sick and tired of being sick and tired. So tired of what this government is doing. The way that they're not listening to the people that they supposedly represent. Not listening to the Constitution, which grants them the powers to do what they do, or in some cases does not grant them the powers to do what they do, which shows their lack of listening. We show up and we do it. We do what we do because we are tired of the overreach. We are tired of the lawlessness. We are tired of watching good people get hurt while these people are laughing all the way to the bank. It's true. We are in a place that we had better do something because the Great Reset's coming. It's starting. You see these companies that are adopting these ESGs, environmental, social, and governance goals. Stories we didn't even get to this week, and maybe we'll touch on them in a future podcast. The way things are going to change so much that we'll have other things by next week. But, you have Coca-Cola, who is saying that they're going to follow these racial equity standards. You have Bank of America. You have Wells Fargo. You have McDonald's, who is going to try and make sure that the makeup of their upper leadership is of a certain quotient, that you have to have a certain percentage of this and certain percentage of that. I don't have a problem with a company being totally led by African Americans. More power to you. But here's what I have a problem with. When you put people in because of what they are instead of who they are. Who are you? Yeah, you. On the other side of this, let's listen to this. Who are you? What are you made of? Do you have the intestinal fortitude to get up and get to business every day? And when you see injustice, to stand up for it and say something, to say, no, I will not allow that. That's out of bounds. To run for an office, to get into an advisory commission, to be a leader in your home, in your church, in your Elks club, your Rotary club, your coaching Little League, whatever it is you're doing, that you're giving back to society, that you're making things better, that in the school system, that you're not allowing them to teach critical theory, that you're actually willing to stand up to it when you see it, that you're not going to allow your child to go through comprehensive sex education, and maybe even to the point where you're willing to pull your child out of the public school system because you see what a dumpster fire it is and you want something different for your child. What are you made of? Who are you? You know, back in the 60s, when the civil rights movement started, Martin Luther King, he didn't just take anybody, but he knew that something had to be done. And he would go and gather people together, but they had to agree. We're not going to be violent. We're not going to swing back. We're going to allow ourselves to get beat. Because they knew eventually that public sympathy would swing their way. And it did. And so, we've got to be the same way. We've got to be willing to get up every day, get beat down, whether it's getting canceled on Twitter, whether it is being made a fool of, whether it's having the whole city come and protest outside your house. You got to be willing to be on the receiving end of that, because public sympathy will change. And you cannot fight back. You will win, because what they are doing is so bad that it cannot be sustained at a societal level, because society is going to break down if we continue down this path. I think the American people are more resilient than that. I think they're going to be able to see a lot of things going on in our society, and they're going to say, oh, that's not right. That's not right. That, oh, we're just going to have a virtual border. People can just come across whenever, and then when they start to see crime increase, because city attorneys, county attorneys are not prosecuting people, are not asking for bail, are paying people, and yes, this is true, are paying people in the hopes that by giving them money, they are not going to commit crimes anymore. We have a society that is so far out of control that it can only be fixed if we do something about it. So who's with me? I know there's a whole mess of good people here in Minnesota. And maybe you're nervous about it. Maybe you're nervous about giving up the time. Maybe you're nervous about not really understanding it. Maybe you're nervous about not knowing the subject matter. Don't worry about it. That's why we're here. That's why every week we come to you over these, I guess, not airwaves, be your cable lines and what have you, your dial-up modems. That's why we do this. You can always email us, commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, because we are more than willing to talk to you, more than willing to help you on your path, more than willing to answer your questions, more than willing, if you want to hire us to do strategy for your campaign. We've done it for others, and we've helped them win. We have to stand together. We have to unify. We can't let the 10% that we disagree on get in the way of the 90% that we agree on. We have too much to do, and we are running out of time. This isn't some climate change scare where, we've got 7 years to fix this, or we're out of time and no, we are running out of time, because the people who have control of our companies, our major corporations, and our governments are working together, and they're subverting the Constitution because they're getting these businesses they're giving them favors so that these businesses implement their policies at a corporate level and go around the Constitution. We've got to stop it. We've had some great people stand up and run, but we know there's a whole bunch more of you that need to do it. So what do you say? I ask you, if you like what you hear, if you've enjoyed the past 200 episodes and want to see us do 200 more, please. This is where I get all Robert Tilton on you. All I need from you is a like. All I need from you is a subscription. And pretty soon that's going to turn into 2. That's going to turn into 3. Seriously, though. If you spread the word, if you stand up and say, hey, this means something, you got to hear this. And here's what I'm doing about it. That's how you rally communities together. That's what we got to do. That is all we need to do. So I hope that you're with us and that you'll continue to join us, continue to share, continue to evangelize and spread the word. Because I'll tell you this. There's one side in this fight that's right. There's actual, real evil happening, and we have to stand against it. Our babies are dying. Our old people are being killed because they're not getting the health care they need. And our wealth is being stolen from us right from out under our noses. So please, join us. Let's fight together. Before I do my traditional words to sign off, Andrew, I just want to say that I have thoroughly enjoyed these 200 episodes, and I wouldn't want to do this podcast with anybody else.
Really?
And it's been a joy.
It has been a joy. Are we going to get to 300?
Yeah. Not before we have to work our way up there. We can't call the next one 300. We can't do what the Democrats do. And
well, that's how I do sit-ups. That's how I do sit-ups. I get to 300.
That's all right.
Well, good. I mean, like I said, contract renewed for this year, and with a player option. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, we keep it new, we keep it fresh. If it becomes boring for us, then it's got to be boring for the listeners.
Right.
So,
if we're having fun, they'll have fun.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's all we got. Well, that's plenty. We will be back a week from now with episode 201. And don't you miss it. We love you, Minnesota. And now it's your turn to get to work.